Hey everyone, I'm fucking sick, and welcome back to Pretty Damn Good, a series where I look at some of the songs that came out in the past week or so that I thought were pretty damn good. Whether it be singles, one-offs, or deep cuts, I try to highlight some of my favorites of this week in no particular order, starting off with Chameleons by the South Hill Experiment. So the South Hill Experiment is a new project between musician brothers Goldwash and Baird, the latter of which I heard from the latest Brockhampton album, Roadrunner. But from what was contributed by Baird as a low-key verse on a poppier Brockhampton cut, I was not anticipating a fuzzed-out piece of psychedelia with so much width and dimension to it all. The way that a lot of the instrumentation is held to one particular rhythm, one particular chord for most of the runtime, makes for an especially trippy experience, as the vocals feel more tuned to a cult-like chant in harmony with only its own ears to hear. This trails on into a bass riff breakdown that shakes the foundation alongside a whirl of solos from keys and guitars that create a division alongside the singularity, showing that a presentation of unity amongst the chameleons, as it were, is fragile at best. A well-produced piece of psychedelic rock that I could not expect to be sourced as it was, and the results could not have been any more rewarding. On the topic of surprises, up next we have Dirt by Y2K and JPEG Mafia. With this collab, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we have Peggy, the guy known for making fiendish sound collages of beats and bars with a very genuine menace behind it all, and Y2K, the guy best known for making silly beats for Baby No Money and Young Gravy. However, the result is likely one of my favorites to come out of this week. The breakbeat being supported by a whirlwind tornado of crystallized synths and gummy bass lines showcases a very up-tempo trip-hop style that I did not anticipate coming from Y2K. Even with the way that the production can be easily recompartmentalized, there's always a new corner that I've yet to hear with each listen of this track. And JPEG Mafia seems to know the assignment as well, to let a banger of a beat like this to be its own marvel, and as a result, we don't really hear a lot from him except for a one-word chorus, some buried ad-libs, and a verse of smooth confidence and indifference to the points of contention around him. It reminds me a lot of an older Gorillaz track and the dynamic playing between these two artists, and I can't wait to see what else Y2K may have for the upcoming album he teased along with this song. From the established to the underground, we now have Haven by Second in Command and Cosmo. Second in Command is an underground rapper from Montana, with this song Haven coming from their latest album of the same name. The album itself reminds me a bit of some Absurdist in production, especially vocally, but then the added narrative gives Haven a new jagged edge to cut open with around a very toxic relationship environment. As an album closer, this song shows a lot of the darkness and the sources being encased in nihilism and the sense of necessity. The sense of resignation to come together in the face of pregnancy, despite the obvious red flags shown between the couple in question, is genuinely heartbreaking and all too reminiscent of multiple real-life events that I've had to view from my friends and family. And Second in Command is not meant to be shown as a sympathetic character, and yet the master of faking, as they are self-described, still goes through with emotive support despite the void that seems to show internally. It's violent to the senses of conviction, and yet I can't help but to feel invested all the same. It's pretty potent stuff. And from moments of disgrace onto moments of recovering grace, may I present to you I'm Not Perfect But I'm Trying by Rachel Chinouriri. This bristling slice of new wave, as I like to call it, is just immaculate through and through. Between the lightly chugging guitars and sparkly keys in the chorus, which conjunction to that lockstep in the percussion, it provides a sense of euphoria that contrasts quite starkly with the fragility of Chinouriri's vocals as she tries to understand the rejection of something greater than love. What I love most about this song are the huskier tones in her voice that make for the gang vocals heard subtly until they belt out in the bridge of the song to become the new focus and source of inspiration to keep going regardless of the harsh shit space. In general, I just love this brand of synth pop where all the pieces just seem to lock together so effortlessly to make a sweet blend of something that feels integral to your existence yet entirely new to your being all the same. Yeah, this song truly speaks more for itself than I could ever give it justice for in this segment, so check it out for yourselves. Now on to something rather goofy, we have Jangly Bones by 1st of October. This one might seem a little late to mention, especially with the subject matter of a goofy Halloween horror trope about escaping a werewolf attack. In addition, it might seem to rely heavily on gimmicks between the balalaika and harpsichord pairing for a song off an album that was conceived and recorded within a 12-hour studio session. And yet, Jangly Bones hits me in a different way than the usual quirky Halloween tracks Andrew and Rob have made over the time of their experiment. For starters, the balalaika shreds with double-time triplets that adds a very Balkan, Eastern European flair that magically adds the horror. In addition, the vocals are a total earworm, especially with the way it dribbles the rest of the instrumentation below it through the fixture of on beats through and through. It's definitely the most eclectic of any song from any 1st of October thus far, and by extension, one of the most fun to play on repeat. I only wish it was longer than 90 seconds, but hey, a bone can only jangle for so much, huh? Back from that detour, up next we have Letter to Myself by Moray. Ever since I've seen the blow-up of Moray's career with Quicksand, I've been really interested to see where he would go with his blend of soul and trap. Admittedly, his songs can be a little one-note in subject matter, and it can seem like he has a ceiling as a performer, but when you have a voice and a formula for great songs like this, I can see there's likely not a lot of need to change. And yet, on this song, the subject matter shifts from the struggles of the streets onto the struggles of the fame taking hold of him, going from checks of money to checks of reality, in his own words. And while shifts in writings to topics of fame, it can feel like a lack of inspiration for the creatively spent, but Moray injects enough of his own personal demons from the experience to show there was a true shift in personality on his end, to the point where he states he even cheated on his wife. It's antagonizing at the expense of Moray himself, and the realization that he became a villain through the clout bestowed hits him really hard. It's contentious for sure if you aren't involved in Moray as an artist, but this showcase of honesty is truly heartbreaking in the framing as a letter to himself, making the song all the more powerful. From brutal takedowns of yourself onto brutal takedowns of others, up next we have Pretty Face by Maya Delilah. From the outside, this can feel like a quirky little singer-songwriter piece about breaking up with a gamer BF, alongside some nice influence of gospel, and that is certainly true. However, I enjoy the lengths that it goes to dramatize the whole scene, from the over-the-top backing vocals to the expanse and progressions in the bridge, including Maya's guitar solo feeling like an extension of her frustration. In addition, there are some true gems in the writing, including the metaphor fusion of red flags with rose-colored glasses, as well as the kicker in the chorus about the guy just being another pretty face in a sea of millions. Just the way it all amalgamates and execution sends this song over the top in a way it otherwise wouldn't. Like if Olivia Rodrigo decided to make a soul song for her next record. In fact, there's a lot of Rodrigo-isms in this song, down to calling a guy a sociopath, like in Good For You. Nevertheless, this is a very well-crafted song in 6/8 that I cannot imagine being improved any more than it already has. On to the next song, we have Pro Freak by Smino, Doechii, and Fat Man Scoop. With Smino's latest album, Love for Rent, I can tell that he has something special in the way of performing and flexibility with his voice. For instance, initially I thought that Doechii was the one delivering the hook on this song, but the way he's able to contort his voice to make it sound all that feminine and raspy still is incredible, regardless of the effects put on it. Maybe that explains the Doechii feature being as crazy as it is, feeling like she needs to compete with Smino at her own game. Either way, both of them have amazing chemistry with each other on this production from DJ Dahi that feels like part marching band, part organized noise beast, part hookup jam, and part hype anthem with the playful ad-libs from Fat Man Scoop. The way all of these parts play off one another, despite in concept not making much sense, is impressive enough before the beat switches and Smino delivers an outro just as ridiculously bouncy with fewer components. It's another token of his talent as an MC. It's great stuff, and I would definitely be remiss to not recommend this or Love for Rent for a truly insane listening experience. From banger to bop, up next we have Tell Me Your Fears by Riotbots. This one might be more of a guilty pleasure than anything else, But the way that dance beat radiates around the track from the first drum patch of the familiar four-on-the-floor groove with the obscure vocal samples feels so nostalgic of club culture, but through a very obvious bedroom pop lens. In addition, Ryavaz's warble on top as he delivers lines about being enchanted by a girl he meets at a club to the point of dissociating and having his breathing stop feels very cute and terrifying in the same vein. It's very serious in presentation and morbid in that imagery, like an emo song, and yet so playful in the consequences and setting that it's hard to look at this song as more than just an extremely out-of-pocket metaphor to describe really a universal experience in some capacity. It helps matters that the synths are in the uncanny valley of danceability, where they're a little too understated to suggest a truly hype environment, but just enough lacking in treble to highlight the underlying intentions of the track. Overall, this is a very oddball dance track that feels all the more mysterious when you try peeling it back. And finally, to cap things off, we have The Astronaut by JIN. Yep, I'm kind of surprised to highlight this single as well, but when you have a crew of Kygo and Coldplay to back up one of my personal favorites from BTS, you are definitely wound up to make something magical. Now, I will say this doesn't hit the same anthemic resonance as the other Coldplay and BTS collab, My Universe, but on the same token, I feel like I enjoy this one a lot more. Between the sweeping array of synths that glimmer like stars and the way Jin's vocals lay in the right space in the master, like this song was written for only him in mind. And considering the themes of space and bliss and the emptiness of knowing only one true love, it just feels right to sing along to that chorus like no one's watching you. Everything just feels so warm and shiny, as it should coming from these three forces in pop. So yeah, I'd say that The Astronaut by JIN, it's pretty damn good. And that's everything that I really wanted to highlight this week, but I wanted to give us some shoutouts for songs I enjoyed but couldn't really fit in this episode. This includes Athens, Georgia by Hotel Fiction. I mean, how was I supposed to not mention this pretty little alt-rock song in reference to my favorite city? There's also Shirt by SZA. The mix of ominous danger with pleasure on this cut is really making me interested in what SZA's long-awaited sophomore album is going to be about. And RSVP by Levi Hummin and Cassidy Pope. A cutesy little country song about inviting an ex to a party and the emotive resentment and not seeing them there. If you had any music from the past week that you like more than the ones that I mentioned, of course you gotta let me know down in the comments below. Share the music, come on, share the love. If you'd like to like and subscribe, that'd be helpful too. I definitely need to find the motivation to keep this series on the move. And before I sign off, I wanted to mention that I have a mashup album coming out this Saturday called Stoned at Karaoke, and it'd be really cool if y'all gave it a listen when it comes out. Some of these mashups have been like on my hard drive for years, and I'd love to finally get a laugh or a surprise reaction out of them. Anyways, my name is pardon the memes, and I hope that you have a pretty damn good one out there. I'll see you next time.